Hello everyone, you're really welcome to Revive. You may have had a busy or tiring or stressful week, but you can take this time now to come to receive from the Lord and to hear what He wants to say to you. And we really hope that this time together will really lift your spirits and that you'll be able to take something from it. And to begin, we're going to have my friend Dominic share a little bit about how God has worked in his life. So enjoy.
Hi guys, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about how the Lord has worked in my life. My name is Dominic Taff, I'm 20 years old, and I was raised in your kind of standard issue Catholic family in Ireland. I wasn't born in Ireland, I was born in England, so apologies for that, but we said the rosary every day growing up. We went to Mass on Sundays. I didn't really understand what the Mass was about. I went because my parents made me go. I knew they had faith. I knew God cared about them, but I didn't really have that personal relationship. I found Mass unengaging. I'd listen to the readings. I'd make connections between the readings and random topics that might come to mind. I was very distracted. I had no relationship. I remember talking about Jesus a bit at primary school because my parents talked about him, and I understood the faith to be true and God to exist. And I remember being shut down very quickly for that. Can't remember what I said, something about Jesus, and I quickly got shut up. So I understood that the Catholic faith was a bit strange, or there was something weird about it. Then I went to secondary school about the age of 13. I think it was my confirmation when I developed, I think at the confirmation I got the gift of wonder and awe in God's presence. I remember from that point onwards becoming very interested in the outdoors. At the age of 13, I was watching hours of YouTube videos on survivalists and Ray Mears doing all sorts of strange things and Bear Grylls. And I decided, reasonably, I should probably go out to my back garden and start drinking my water and stuff. And I remember whacking sticks together and making fires, and I got fairly good at it after a while. I didn't talk about it at school. I thought it was a bit strange. I still kind of think it is a bit strange. But I basically got very involved in the outdoors, and I began to see God's beauty in nature around me. So I ended up getting involved in a local scout group back in Thurles, where I live. And I was fairly disappointed. It wasn't quite what I was looking for. I was looking for something a bit more challenging. We were kind of meeting up every Friday, paying a $5 to hold hands and sing songs and stuff. I was like, this is not what I'm looking for. But a couple of years through secondary school, I ended up doing an exchange with a French student, and my brother and I both did this exchange actually. So this French student came over for a couple of weeks, and then we said we'd go over to him for a couple of weeks. And yeah, while we were over in France, this friend of ours was getting involved in a scout camp with an international scouting organization called Scouts of Europe, or Scout d'Europe as they'd say. It sounds like they've swallowed a frog. Anyway, we ended up going over and getting involved in something we really were not prepared for. We didn't see it coming. It was very intense and very rigorous. French scout camp, very different to an Irish scout camp. A scout camp had a couple of different aspects. It had the construction phase at the start where you'd set up, build your camp. It had loads of, at one point throughout the camp, there was something called the big game, or la grand jeu, and it was feared by all the scouts, where at some random point during the camp, you're woken up usually about 3 a.m. in the morning by fireworks and told to pack your bag within 7 minutes because we're going to hike to a different location and play some themed games. So each camp had a theme. Our theme was the resistance, la résistance, resistance of the French against the Germans. And so, yeah, that was another intense aspect of it. Then we also had things like an Olympiad where we just did loads of sports. It was very challenging, physically challenging, lots of long hikes. We had to build our camps, so we were felling trees. Every morning we had something called crassage, which was exercises. Very intense. You had to be responsible for yourself. We were divided into patrols. Each patrol had 8 guys, a patrol leader, lovely hierarchy. I like that kind of thing. And we learned responsibility. When you're young, I was about 16 at the time, it's really good to be given responsibility, to like be put in a position where you're away from your parents in the woods with other lads and you have to get on to survive. One of the parts of the camp is called the exploration, where you leave your camp, and we hiked about 27 kilometers to a nearby town. And we all like this part of the camp because you get to leave the chiefs, who are like college students. They're about 20, 25, a couple of married men there as well. And so you're given even more responsibility and more freedom. You're given a bit of money and you find accommodation in the nearby town. And yeah, you're wearing uniform. We have a uniform with a beret and a neckerchief. And you become very aware when you go back out of the woods into civilization that you're different. There's something different about us. We also smell very different. We have a motto in Scouts of Europe, and in French it's like scout toujours prêt, which means Scouts are always ready. And if you're walking on the street and someone says scout toujours, you have to respond with prêt and salute. And some people do that like in a sarcastic way a lot, just to tear us down. I remember we were coming from like 27 kilometers away one time, and we were walking into a town, and some people, I think, were outside a pub or something, and they were slagging us, and they were like, oh, scout toujours, and we were like, prêt, and they were like, oh, where'd you come from? And then we were like, Tonnerre. Our chief just said Tonnerre, which is the town, which is like 27 kilometers away, and your man just shut up fairly quick, and we were like, yeah, it's been tough. Stay away from us. But we learned that we were different. There was something different about us, and we behaved differently. And I think this kind of relates to the faith. Romans 12:2 reads, do not be conformed to the world where you live, but rather be transformed through the renewal of your mind. You must discern the will of God, what is pleasing and what is perfect. And at that young age, we learned like that skill not to be conformed to the ways of the world. And like when you're young, that's just really important, to be pushed out of your comfort zone. And I think there were many things in this scout camp that I applied to my faith. Firstly, taking responsibility. When you have to take responsibility for the small things in your life, like be it packing your bag, you can just apply that to the bigger things. So coming back from that scout camp, I took responsibility for my faith. We had a lot of faith aspects to the camp. I didn't mention that. We'd have rosaries in the evening, mass every second day, a priest on camp. So that's where the faith formation came from. And also not to be conformed to the ways of the world. I could also apply that to my faith. I knew that being different wasn't all that bad when you stepped out, and that it has benefits. And we can try and fulfill ourselves in loads of ways, but it doesn't work, and we're going to seem different as Catholics when we step out and we do things differently. Then coming back from that scout camp, I think that was the real turning point in my life, and where I can say God kind of revived my faith. I began actively looking for the faith. One thing I'll mention is actually on the scout camp on my birthday, which happened to be there, I rang my dad. We had a Skype call, terrible internet, 3G out in the forest, and my dad just said to my brother and I, he said, guys, you look so good, you look amazing. I remember my brother and I just being like, what, we look good? I kind of looked at him like, do you feel good? He was like, don't feel good at all, man. Can't feel my legs, the snake bites everywhere. That's an exaggeration, but yeah, we didn't feel good, but our dad had recognized that something had changed, so there was definitely a dramatic change. And it was like more spiritual, like not a physical change. Well, actually, there was a bit of a negative physical change, but a seriously positive spiritual change. And so, yeah, like I said, came back from that scout camp, began actively looking for spiritual food, found Youth 2000, was going regularly all throughout, that was TY, so 5th year. That was my, if any of you have been to Youth 2000, you might be able to relate to the spiritual high, back to school, but that's what gets you through, and that constant kind of food slowly brought me closer to God. Then in 6th year, I was trying to figure out where I was going to go with my life. I remember flicking through my CO book and not being too enamored by business and computers and that kind of boring stuff, and having a history of whacking sticks together. I was like, military is definitely the way to go. So I think it was about halfway through 6th year, I was like, if I'm going to decide on getting into the army, I'm actually going to have to put my foot down, because one does not just get into the army on a last second kind of whim. So I began training before Christmas. I was running every day, doing push-ups every day to get through that fitness test. I met the husband of one of the teachers at my school was a lieutenant colonel. I was talking to him, went to his house and said, look, I want to get into cadets, I want to train to be an officer. How's this going to look? Will I make the cut? And so he was talking to me. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get you prepped for the interview sometime through the summer. Then Leaving Cert came around. That was grand, happened. And then I started the application process for cadetship. And the first step is a very simple online psychometric test. You tick some boxes, point out the differences in some numbers and flip shapes in your head. And I was like, okay, fine. And somehow I managed to fail this. I don't really know. I was quite insulted. I don't know what happened. But I suspect it was God's hand, because 2 days after failing this test, being very frustrated with God and being like, Lord, look, like, what's the plan? Like, I thought this is the way to go. Father Patrick Cahill's mother, who is our priest here at Holy Family, his mother, who only lives down the road in Thurles, came to the door, spoke to my mother and said, look, applications are finishing up soon, our interviews are finishing up soon. Would Dominic be interested in doing a year at Holy Family? And if he is, here's the application form. And so when I heard about this, I was like, okay, I get it. I see where this is going, Lord. You want me to do Holy Family? Okay, let's go. And so, I think at that point, I was just fairly sure that that's where God wanted me to go. Now, I didn't know too much about Holy Family. I'd been here once for an Easter retreat. We have family days. We used to have family days. And so, yeah, I didn't really have much of a profound desire, but I just felt that the Lord was calling me. I knew it would be good. So I filled out the application form, did the interview, got accepted, and did my first year. And yeah, an amazing experience. Really managed to continue to form that deeper relationship with the Lord through adoration and just being in his presence. And then, I have a bit of a story as to how I did second year as well, which involves another kind of complicated discernment process. Having done my first year, gotten a lot out of it, knowing myself better, knowing the Lord better, I thought, I don't really need to do a second year because, got what I need and I want to move on. And my plan B was to do a year of college, do reserves simultaneously, and then go back to the dreaded cadets and the online psychometric test, because maybe I might be better at it then. So that was my plan B. So I was like, okay, so we'll go to college first, try out some college, try out some reserve army, and then we'll have a go at the psychometric test. But over the summer, I just found myself very restless, very not at peace with the prospect. I came down here a couple of times to help out with retreats and online faith camps and stuff. And while I was here, I talked to Father Patrick. I said, look, my plan is I'm going to college. Father Patrick seems to play a large part in my discernment process. I'm going to college. I'm very hell-bent on it. I don't want to be making last-minute decisions. And so that's what I told him. And then Father Patrick left at some point while I was at Holy Family. He went to a priest retreat. And by the time he had come back, there was another application form on his desk for a second year from me, because I had totally flipped. I had gone from definitely not doing a second year to, okay, I probably should do a second year. I don't know how that happened, but yes, here I am doing a second year, and just profound, really grown close to the Lord, like I said. And that's how God has really kind of revived my life through something as interesting as a scout camp. And it's just it's very interesting how God knows us and knows how to get through to us, and he can definitely do the same for you too. So guys, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me. I hope you enjoy the rest.